I want you to just imagine for a second that you're standing out in front of a vast rock, a big flat rock. I mean, as far as the eye can see, all you see is this flat rock. And I want you to take a 5 or 10 pound bag of all kinds of seeds, throw those seeds out onto the rock, and then stand there for a growing season. All right? You've got sunlight coming by every day. You've got rain coming through periodically. And at the end of a 6 or 7 month period, how much yield will you get from your casting of seeds? Probably not too much, right? But now let's take on that rock and let's put a good 4 feet of topsoil on top of that rock. Give yourself the same 5 or 10 pound bag of seed. Throw that out there. And now let's stand in this one place and watch what happens over the next 6 to 7 months, right? Same amount of sunlight now, right? Same amount of rain coming across. Now what do you have at the end of 6 months or so? You're going to have something there, right? Even if the soil was sterilized and there's no weed seeds in it. Because if your seeds didn't take, you can be sure the earth's got plenty of seed in it to put something there. But you would have some kind of abundance there. Certainly a lot more than you would have if you had the rock. But now let's imagine that 60 years earlier, your grandparents looked out upon that 4 acres of virgin soil and they said, let's create something for ourselves, but let's be sure we leave something for our children. And they went out there and they planted oak and walnut, chestnut, these vast, wonderful, massive oak nut trees. And near them they planted these great apple trees and cherry trees and peach trees and plum trees and pears, these magnificent stately trees. And near them they planted things like service berries and gooseberries and blueberries, hazelnut bushes producing vast amount of nuts in a short period of time. And next to that, maybe they had things like gooseberries and currants, and they planted asparagus and rhubarb. They had all of these things out there. They planted them, and they established, and they walked away. And you come out 60 years later, and you're standing in front of this vast kind of a forest with openings in it, with all kinds of vegetation. And you don't even take your bag of seeds and throw it out there. You just stand there now for 6 or 7 months. What kind of yield do you think you're going to get out of that situation? Same amount of sunlight, same amount of rain, nothing changes. But how much yield are you going to get out of that? It's massive. And not only are you going to get food, but you're going to get materials for fuel, materials for shelter, for fuels for fabric, materials for fabric, substances. It's massive what will come out of that situation. And you didn't even throw your bag of seeds out there. You just harvested that. That is a permaculture model for feeding yourself and the world. That's what permaculture is about. How to create these situations primarily using perennial plants so that when you leave, you left the planet in better condition than when you arrived. That's how you do it. You didn't even need to sit there for 60 years. They just put them in the ground. They didn't even do any more work. Nobody had to plow the field. Nobody had to go out there and weed it, herbicide, pesticide, sprinkler systems, anything. And there it was. There's that abundance. You can even ask yourself, if you're going to get shipwrecked onto a desert, on an island, do you want it to be a desert? Do you want it to be a rock? Do you want it to be a prairie? Or would you rather be a forest? Bingo. So trees, forests, foliage, plants, these are the lungs of the planet, and they produce real wealth. Where does abundance come from on this planet? It's plants. It's soil. Without soil and without plants, we as a human species, we as an animal species, don't exist on this planet. We didn't come around until the forests really started showing up. That's where the human experience came from.